Good morning from the Jackson Crossing Mall here in beautiful Jackson, Michigan. It's me, Brian the Big Red Beard. It's time to go on an adventure today. I'm currently walking around the mall, and as you can see probably behind me, it's a pretty empty mall. There's not much going on, and there's some audio issues with the speakers above me kind of hissing, so it's a little weird. Empty mall, hissing speakers. I think I'm gonna wander up to Target and see if they're open. And if they're open, we'll cruise around their store and see what we can find. Well, a lot of the people are starting to file into work here at the mall. You know, workers and people that are, you know, getting their daily walk in and exercise. In the meantime, I am going to cross this parking lot and I'm gonna head over to the Shell Mart, which is over that way. And I'm gonna pick up some coffee. They have Johnny's coffee and it's delicious. And then, you know, sometimes you can go to a gas station and get coffee. You kind of get that burnt, charred coffee. It's been sitting on the pot all day long, but their stuff is fresh and it is good. And I need coffee. I didn't get any this morning. Such a beautiful morning. There's not a cloud in the sky. It's wonderful out. Avery had picture day today at school, and Rachel's gonna be there all day helping out, you know, corral the kids and get them around. So that'll be fun for her. You know, we're just getting ready for Disney. We got a lot of our stuff packed already. We're doing some pre-packing in our luggage. Some of you may think that's a little crazy since we're still, you know, 20 plus days out, but we're packing stuff that we know we're not gonna see again until we get down to Disney, like our Halloween costumes. I've got my Jedi boots, got my costume all packed. Avery's got her costume all packed. We're ready to go. Okay, got my Johnny's coffee. Like I said, I can't preach enough about this stuff. It's so good. Just so good. The best thing about mornings, coffee and contemplation. You are far from your home, Mr. Seagull. There is no lake around here for some miles. One of the best parts about walking here at the Jackson Crossing Mall is just that walking. It's a big, long corridor, which I talked about in another video. You just walk, and there's a lot of people that have been walking out here for 30, 40 plus years. You know, they open up the mall early. The mall stores don't open till 10 a.m. Some of the anchors open up at 9 a.m. But people just like to come out here and walk. It's safe. You know, there's no traffic. You can get out of the elements, get out of rain. People walk here, you know, sunshine, snow, rain, sleet, it doesn't matter. And, you know, they meet up on either ends, Target at the cafeteria. They may go down to Alpha Coney Island and, you know, meet up and have coffee down there. So I'm becoming one of them. Five Below has some of their Halloween stuff out. Man, look at that, that's cool. They have a little witch, and even their eyes light up. How cool is that? Avery would love this. Skeleton with chains. I guess if someplace you just want to get some cheap and inexpensive Halloween props, come to Five Below. When they're open, of course. I may have to come back here and get some of these for the house. These are only $3. How awesome is that? Oh man, if I could fit those in my bag now and carry them around, I'd get them right now. Well, once the store is open, of course. Here's some fun facts and history about the Jackson Crossing Mall, formerly known as Paka Plaza. It was opened up in 1960, and they had about 34 stores, and it was a, you know, open air store. It was kind of like a outside mall. And then it wasn't until about 1973 across town the other mall opened up, which was the Westwood Mall. And then at that point in time they closed up and, you know, put ceilings up over the mall and closed it. And then as the years grew on past 70s, they started to expand, add more stores, and then they went through some major renovations in the 90s and early 2000s and changed their name from Paka Plaza to the Jackson Crossing. Some of the feature anchor stores back in the 60s was Kroger, Woolworth, some of those classic stores. In fact, the Dollar Tree, which is on the opposite side of the mall from where I am right now, is where the old Woolworth used to be. And I remember that store growing up. It was really cool. But, you know, like most malls, you know, stores come and go, but it seems like more are going now than staying. And I think that's just the retail dynamic of a mall. Malls aren't like what they used to be. I think malls were in their powerhouse in the, you know, late 70s and 80s. 80s for sure. Loved that. Absolutely loved that. So one of my favorite movies took place in a mall. Actually, some of my favorite movies have taken place in a mall. But one that is near and dear to my heart took place in a mall, and that was Dawn of the Dead. Love that movie. Everything about that movie. The original, and you know, even the remake was good, but the original, if you haven't seen it, go out and see it. George A. Romero presents Dawn of the Dead. And as a side note, the mall used in Dawn of the Dead, the Monroeville Mall in Pennsylvania, it's still there, and they host tours of some of the filming locations at their mall. How cool is that? From where I'm standing right now, you can look down the hallway here. This all used to be open air. This used to be parking lot. And then right here next to Alpha Coney Island is Sears. And this entrance to Sears used to be parking lot. And these doors you see right here in front of me, just walk right into the Sears. And you had all this area which is now enclosed in part of the mall. Used to be the parking lots. And like a breezeway, you could just, you know, walk across the parking lot from the entrance of the mall. So up here, a little bit further past these little electronic helicopters and Richard Scarry toys, just a little further down the way, would be the entrance to the mall, where you could just cross across and go into Sears. And it's right about here that there would have been that gap. So this is the entrance leading outside, and you can see across the street there is the Plaza Cinemas. You know, speaking of, you know what, let me take my sunglasses off. I am indoors. I was talking about an outdoor mall, but I am indoors. Let me get these off. Okay, that's better. But going back to my point, speaking of, you know, malls and, you know, Dawn of the Dead, this early in the morning, wandering around the mall, there's just not a lot of traffic, so it really seems like Dawn of the Dead is empty shell. You know, could you survive in a mall? Would there be enough supplies for you to survive in the mall? It's hard to say. Now, the Monroeville Mall that they had in Dawn of the Dead, which filmed in the 70s, was perfect. I mean, they had drugstores, they had gun stores, and all sorts of stuff that you could survive in there for quite a long time. But here, not so much. And I've had my fair share of working at malls. I worked at this mall back in the late 90s and early 2000s. I worked for a company called Waxworks Incorporated, and they own stores like Disc Jockey, and that's the company I worked for. So we were a record store. You know, we're talking, you know, not pre-CD area, but close to it. Cassettes and CDs, before we started selling movies or anything like that, but we were a true music store. We did consignments, you know, for local artists as well, and it was great. It was at the heyday. Nope, but I had a lot of fond memories of working at Disc Jockey. It was a lot of fun, you know. I miss some of the coworkers and friends that I made throughout the years working there. But that's where I met my wife. That's where I met Rachel. I met Rachel at Disc Jockey. She knew one of the coworkers I had, Chris, and I knew from school and knew her brother, and would come in and, you know, talk to Chris. And unbeknownst to me, I had no idea that she liked me. But long story short, we started to talk. We went on a few dates, and you know, here we are 16 years later, and almost 12 years later, we're married. And I have a lot of fond memories of that store. I have a lot of fond memories of this mall in particular, and a lot of those are surrounding my marriage and my wife. Toys R Us is not open yet, but I can see they have a lot of their Halloween stuff hanging up, a lot of their costumes. You ever buy any of those prepackaged costumes, you know, for your kids? You know, I'll show you here, for example, what I'm talking about. Maybe you can see them through the glass. The ones hanging up on the rack back there. I never have felt that those have been good quality. I kind of call them throwaway costumes. They're not high quality costumes, but they're really expensive. You know, 30, some upwards of $50. But the material that's used in a lot of those costumes is really cheap. And I'm not saying the costumes I grew up with were any better, you know, but I came up with the plastic masks and the old vinyl capes from back in the late 70s and the 80s, and I'm sure those cost a lot. In fact, I was watching some Halloween commercials last night, and I saw a commercial for a Woolworths, if I can get that out, and in that commercial they were advertising like Star Wars and other costumes are like $9.99. I'm like, wow, that seems expensive for even like 1983, 84. But yeah, I just think kids' costumes are so expensive, and I think a lot of it has to do with the commercial increase of Halloween and how big it is commercially, you know, to the industry, you know, not far behind Christmas, and that holiday too just really has taken off, which I'm fine with. I love Halloween because it brings out more products, but doggone, those costumes are expensive. And here's my point behind that, the expensive costumes for kids. We take a sip here. I was able to order my Jedi robe and costume for Mickey's Not So Scary, and I got that for just a little over $50. And the costume is high quality, machine and hand sewn, and that's something that will probably last me for years going forward with good, you know, maintenance and taking care of it. Whereas some of these kids' costumes, they fall apart maybe the night of Halloween, and you've kind of spent the 40 to 50 bucks on them. So here's my suggestion for you, smart shopper out there. Wait till after Halloween. Buy a lot of those costumes for dress up for your kids. That's when you can snag them off the rack for like $14.99, $7.99. Maybe buy one for next year. Maybe just buy them so they can dress up as their favorite, you know, Disney character or superhero. That's my suggestion. There's your pro shopping tip of today. I've got time if you've got time. Let's go to Target. You can probably see behind me there's one of the gatherings of the folks that walk around the mall and have their morning meetings, so to speak. I'm gonna look for some shoes and see if I can find some for Disney. In the Halloween section, can someone tell me more about these mug cakes? Apparently you just put this in the microwave and it makes one mug cake. I mean, I like the concept and idea. You got a little pumpkin and a skeleton and red velvet and vanilla cake mix. But I'm not too sure. What do you guys think? I love assorted Halloween candies, such as these enticing eyeballs, spooky skulls, blue goo bugs, and then another bag of spooky skulls. Now, I recall Rachel and I trying these last year, and we did not like them at all. There's something about the texture that didn't sit well with us. Caramel marshmallow. The idea sounds really good, but they were not good. Well, it says push, so... That's pretty cool. This is probably the widest variety of Halloween animal bones I've seen. I mean, we've got like a little frog down here, got a rat, which we have one of those. Obviously we have a bat here, a little chihuahua, which we've seen the other dog variations, and then a rattlesnake. It's pretty cool. Look at that. Avery would love that. Got fish bones, and even this guy right here is a chameleon. Pascal, no! This guy's pretty cute. You just put him in your front yard and he's like, hey, how's it going? I'm here just to take your soul. This one's probably my favorite. This little fat chubby ghost. He's got a little pumpkin pail. It'd be great lined up in your front yard. Well, I struck out getting some shoes, but I was able to pick up some shorts on clearance and a few Disney shirts. So I'll show you guys when I get home later today. But right now I'm heading off to work, so you guys enjoy the rest of your time, and I'll see you back in a little bit. What an interesting cloud formation as the sun is going down. Almost kind of looks like a feather or a brush stroke across the sky. And Avery and Rachel are here picking me up, so it's time to go home.